Of Mice and Men is one of the great American novellas. It is short and simply written, but it is powerful. The novel explores the fundamental elements of the human condition. Man's inherent loneliness, which drives our need for companionship, dreams, and the idea that our lives are predestined or fated. Steinbeck's purpose for writing is perhaps best summarised in a 1938 journal entry. In every bit of honest writing in the world, there is a base theme. Try to understand men. If you understand each other, you will be kind to each other. Knowing a man well never leads to hate, and nearly always leads to love. There are shorter means. There is writing promoting social change, writing punishing injustice, writing in celebration of heroism, but always that base theme. Try to understand each other. In order to gain a complete understanding of Mice and Men, it is necessary to understand John Steinbeck's life and the social and historical context of America in the 1930s. John Steinbeck was born in 1902 in Salinas, California. The Steinbeck family lived in a small rural town, and as a child, John spent his summers working on nearby ranches. There he learned the harsher aspects of migrant life and of human nature, which he would later explore in Of Mice and Men. Indeed, the character of Lenny was based on a real person that Steinbeck worked with. The worker killed a ranch foreman and ended up in an insane asylum. Steinbeck set Of Mice and Men in the Salinas Valley where he grew up. The majority of the story takes place on a ranch in Soledad, which is Spanish for solitude. Loneliness is a central theme in the novella. All the characters are lonely, and this loneliness is represented in the card game that is always being played, solitaire. Of Mice and Men is set in the 1930s during the Great Depression. During this period, many people were without a job. At the height of the Depression in 1933, 25% of Americans were unemployed. Life was harsh. There was no unemployment or pension benefits. As a result, there was fierce competition for work and many men became bindlestiffs, itinerant migrants roaming the country in search of employment, which is what we see with Lenny and George. However, there was little work available on the land due to the Dust Bowl, which was a period of severe dust storms during the 30s. During these storms, winds would blow away the topsoil in huge clouds that were known as black blizzards or black rollers. A combination of severe droughts and poor farming practices had caused the topsoils to become loose, and the resulting dust storms crippled the agriculture industry.
It has been difficult for subsequent generations to really imagine just how awful and how deep and how long it was.
You know, the Great Depression was so interesting because America had been on such a high for so long, and just, you know, the jazz age and everything was great and everybody was having a lot of fun, and all of a sudden it came crashing down. And I think that folks just sort of thought, is this the end of the American dream?
Now, one might have said, looking around the United States in the 1930s, at the worst moment, there were 13 million people unemployed.
You had people in soup kitchens, you had people unemployed, people were losing their homes across the country. The whole nation came to a standstill, and everybody looking at America thought, was it all a mockery? Was it all just an experiment that obviously didn't work? And what will America be now? Will they just be a marginal nation? Will they ever recover from this?
The Great Depression was a great equalizer. Despite the fact that George is intellectually superior to Lenny, their lives are the same. This equality extends to all the workers on the ranch, and their equality is reflected in their clothes. The workers had been fated to be adults during the Great Depression, and this idea of fate is another central theme of the novella. The title of Mice and Men is an allusion to the Robert Burns poem To a Mouse, on turning up her nest with a plough. The poem, like the novella, explores the inevitability of life and the fallibility of even the best laid plans. There is a hardness that is born from desperation in all the characters in Of Mice and Men. The novella captures the harshness of life in the 1930s, when poverty was rife due to the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. Many of the characters were marginalised members of the 1930s society. Lenny is mentally disabled, Candy is old and physically handicapped, Crooks is an African American living 30 years before the end of segregation in the USA, and Curly's wife is a powerless and sexually objectified woman. All these characters have dreams. dreams they are fated not to achieve. And that's it. Just to quickly recap the main points of the video, I looked at 3 major themes in Of Mice and Men: loneliness, dreams and fate, and 2 literary techniques, motif and illusion. The setting for the novella was the Salinas Valley in California, where Steinbeck grew up. The majority of the action occurs at a ranch in Soledad, which is Spanish for solitude. Of Mice and Men is a reflection of the social and historical context around when it was set and written. Through the characters of Lenny and George and the other ranch workers, we know that life was tough and there were limited employment opportunities. We know that mentally handicapped, aged, physically handicapped, African American and women were all marginalised in the 1930s, because Lenny, Candy, Crooks and Curly's wife are marginalised in the novella. And as the orchestra music begins to play, I just want to say that I hope you found the video valuable. If you did, please leave us a comment, a like or subscribe. I try and add videos regularly. Thanks so much for watching.